Hello and welcome back to the NBA DFS Slate Breakdown for Thursday, November 21st. We got a 4-game slate on tap tonight, and we were just diving straight into it, getting into it. So far, not a ton of injury news, but I'm sure more will come out throughout the day. I'm your host, Tyler Wiemann, at FlatTyler83 on your DFS and Twitters. Now, let's get into this slate, but before we do, come join us at LineStar. Just a reminder that we do have a free 7-day trial through the app stores. Download LineStar app. And if you've never tried us out, you can get 7 free days. It does give you access to the website, which you see here, as well as our props. We, by far, have the best DFS and prop betting prop on the market. Now, let's dig into it and get into some basketball DFS. NBA DFS, our high-owned player of point guard is Colin Sexton, 47% owned. The big news here is there's no Jordan Clarkson. So without Clarkson, it's expected that Sexton is going to pick up some additional minutes. We have him at 31.5 right now. He played 32 last game. He's really been generally around that 26 to 28 range, averaging 26.8 on the season. But we know he is a guy in the past that when he gets hot is very good at scoring fantasy points. However, over the last 20 games, he's only at 0.92 fantasy point per minute, makes his price at $5,500 kind of where it should be. But him on the court for a little bit longer does give him some more time to get hot, and I am very interested in him just because of that ceiling. Now, we got Chris Paul, 6,100. CP3 is questionable. He does have a thumb injury, but is expected to play tonight. And he's been solid lately. He has shown some upside, had a 47-point night, has had a couple 40s or high 30s, and at 6,100 on a small slate like this in a pace-up spot, I think you got to consider the Jazz. I don't mind going there whatsoever. Jazz have been 27th versus starting point guard. So Chris Paul does have some intrigue on this nice slate. And Spurs will be without Wemby. Next, we got Steven Castle, 32% owned. He has a 5-star alert score. He's been playing pretty well lately. He's shown a little bit of upside, but his kind of average or median, game isn't going to get there. 25 points isn't going to get it done. I would be on the side of fading him a little bit at this ownership. However, for some reason Chris Paul is out, then Castle starts to look real nice because he will take over those point guard minutes. Now our pivots. We got Cade Cunningham, 9,300. He is a 4-star alert scorer versus the Hornets. And he can torch these guys. Definitely interested in some Cade. He just did okay versus them earlier in the season and last year, but I don't mind going against the Hornets whatsoever. Next, we got Keontae George. He is the clear pivot off Sexton. If you want to go George instead of Sexton, it makes a lot of sense. You're getting low ownership. Very similar price point, and he only has 1 game of over 30 or 2 games of over 30, but one of them is a 52-point performance where he played 39 minutes. I have a higher expectation of George getting additional minutes than I do of Sexton. I think there is a chance Sexton is still at 27, 28, and they bring somebody off the bench. But I would be shocked if George isn't, 33, 34 minutes. He is averaging 31 on the season. This is a great spot for him to get a little bit more run versus Spurs team that's 25th versus point guard, allowing 39.48 fantasy points per game to the starting point guard. So it's a great spot for George at low ownership. Very intrigued to go that way. And then you could also go Jalen Suggs versus the Lakers. My issue here is I feel like this is a little bit more of a cash game play than a GPP play. I don't mind the spot versus the Lakers. It is back-to-back nights. Lakers are fine to go against, but there's just not the ceiling potential. Now, on a 4-game slate, you tend to play a few more kind of cash game-like plays in tournaments. So I am a little interested here, but really not super interested. It is a 216 game total, the lowest of the night. Getting over to DraftKings on point guard, we got Sexton, Paul, and LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball obviously has huge upside. He only played 24 minutes, got in foul trouble last game. But I would expect his minutes to be back up around that 35 area. And if it is, he can go 50 plus, especially with the injuries that they have. So interested in him for sure. Don't mind going that way. George is picking up a little more ownership over here. Still love the spot for him. And what's interesting is he is more expensive than Sexton. Scotty Barnes, we got to talk about. He is questionable. He could come back today. If he does, he may be slightly limited, but definitely a little interested in him. It is an eye injury. He did miss 11 games, so I don't know if they'd go straight back to his full 34, 35, 36-minute run, but dude can ball, so you got to consider. Okay, getting over to shooting guard, we got Sexton, we got Ant. Ant is 43% owned, 4.5 star alert score. There is a big ceiling. We know he can hit 50s, but he's been living in that mid 40s. And this is a spot that he can absolutely thrive. 27th ranked defense. They've been a little tougher versus shooting guard, but he can get it done versus anybody in the way his shot is falling this year. He is definitely interesting. Julian Champagne, I'm a little interested in at 4,800. I was on him yesterday. He put up 26, played 28 minutes. He likely is around the same minutes now. It's just the matchup versus the Pacers. Pace up spot or higher pace spot. 24th overall for small forwards. He is another guy that doesn't have a huge ceiling, but I think he can, give you mid-20s, get you into 30s, and there's very little value on this slate. So he is one way to pay down and get some upside. Next, we got Brandon Miller, 7K. I think Brandon Miller being lower owned is shocking in this spot. He has had real big ceiling games lately with their injuries. He put up 50 versus Indy, put up 48 versus the Nets just a couple nights ago. And now he's in a good spot versus the Hornets, who are 26 versus shooting guard. Very interested in some Brandon Miller. George and Suggs we have talked about, and so we'll move it on over to DraftKings. And Sexton, Castle, Champagne we've talked about. Grady Dick, 6,200. If Barnes is coming back, I am off Grady Dick totally. I almost just said I'm off Dick. All right, now let's get over to small forward. Anthony Edwards, 43% owned. Champagne, 30%. LeBron, 9,900, 25% owned, and a 4-star alert score versus the Magic. I'm fine if you want to take some LeBron. My issue is he just hasn't really ever done much against the Magic, and I can't handle a mid-40 score out of a 10K player. So for that reasons, I'm out. I would rather go to Brandon Miller. Franz Wagner at 9,200. I am more interested in. I think he has a little bit higher chance of being in the 50s than LeBron. I shouldn't really say a higher chance, but similar chance, and he's going low owned. So I'm fully willing to take that bet. Miles Bridges, 6,500 is a very interesting one. Sat out 3 games, played only 27 minutes the first 2 games, but then just came and played 33. If he is back to 33 minutes a night at 6,500, he becomes pretty interesting. From last year, we know he has a solid ceiling, and he had a 50 burger 2 nights ago. So can he do it against the a Pistons team that's not that good, I'm sure he can. Jonathan Isaac, he has been our kind of talk about every single game. Minutes, 22, 20, 25, 22. It seems like he is playing more of a 20 to 22 minute area. He was in the game to close the last night. If these minutes start creeping up, he starts to look real interesting. He's like a 1.2 minute fantasy guy. So 1.2 fantasy point per minute guy. So very intrigued with him if he's on the court a little bit more. If there's a chance that he gets up 24, 25 minutes, then I'm fine having a little bit of him. I'm not going to go super hard on him, but like I said, very limited value right now and 3% owned, a guy of his caliber. I'm intrigued with that outcome. Lauri Markkanen, 7,100, 40% owned on DK. He played 36 minutes and 39, 35 the last 3 nights. With those type of minutes, I think you kind of got to consider Markkanen even at high ownership. Now, the one thing I said when he played the Lakers last game was we need his shot volume to come up. It came up. He had 16 shots. He was in the perfect lineup, put up 42. Absolutely fine going back to him in this spot if that volume stays up, which if he's getting that type of minutes, it should, and they have injuries. I'm very interested in some Markkanen. Don't mind it whatsoever. Champagne, LeBron, Franz, we talked about power forward on FanDuel. Zach Collins, he is questionable today. He has some sort of knee issue, so we do need to wait to see if he is playing. If he's playing, I am absolutely fine to go there. The one thing I do have to warn you is that he is at 26 minutes the last 2 games, so he likely is staying right around that. To be optimal, he's going to have to score at a very high fantasy points per minute. Now, he's been starting as a starter. He's at 1.44 fantasy per minute over his last 5 starts. Now, that's a super high level. I do not think he can stay at that level. I think he likely comes down a little bit. And if he's only at 1.2 playing 26 minutes a game and he's chalk, there are some paths to him kind of failing and not really having to have him in these lineups. Now, Julius Randle, 7,400. I will probably have more Randle than I will Collins. He's a little less owned, and I just think there's more upside to the pick. Just he's playing 34, 35 minutes. I'm absolutely fine going to Randle. John Collins, 7,100. I would probably prefer Collins over both of the Randle John Collins over Randle and Zach Collins. John Collins, when he gets it going, he's got a 50 point plus ceiling. And Collins playing 26 minutes a night is just not going to give you that. I would rather pay the 1K extra and get access to that bigger ceiling with John Collins. Wagner, Miles Bridges, we talked about. Isaac, we talked about. So we will move it on over to power forward on DraftKings. The only one we have not talked about yet is Grant Williams. He is 5K. I'm fine to go to him on DraftKings at only 5K. He has a 35, a 34, 21, and 26 since he's been back in the starting lineup. His minutes are kind of secure. He is going to play some center. I do worry a little bit about him matching up with Jalen Duren, who is, 6'11", and Grant Williams is 6'6". Duren also has a 7'5" wingspan. I think he's going to be a little bit too big for Grant Williams. So I do have some worry there. Maybe there's some foul trouble for Grant, or he just has a tough time on the boards. He's really going to need to be able to kind of stick to his fundamentals, box out really well to have a shot at being optimal in this spot. But I'm intrigued with him. I'm absolutely fine getting some Grant Williams, especially on DK where he's a little bit cheaper. On to the center spot. We got Zach Collins, we got John Collins, and we got Jakob Poeltl. with what Podol's done the last few games, I think you got to consider him. 62, 50, and 57. The one issue over the last couple of years, he hasn't done much versus Rudy Gobert, so I am a little hesitant on that aspect, but dude's been producing all season long, and he's been playing 35 minutes a night the last couple games, so I think you got to partly respect that and have a little bit, but I wouldn't go too super hard. Charles Bassier, 21 minutes last night, put up 30. Absolutely fine going back to him. If he's playing 21 minutes a game at the rate of which he produces, I'm a little interested. Like I said, very little chalk, so this is one of those spots you might need to. Also, Collins is questionable. If Collins is out, he probably picks up some more minutes. Or if Collins' knee just isn't having it during the game and, Collins can't finish a game, Bassier picks up some minutes. So a little interested in him. Also, Rudy Gobert, 6,800, clear pivot off Jakob Podol, and he has crushed Podol over the last couple of years. Earlier this season, 15 points, 12 rebounds, 4 blocks, and a steal. Last season, put up 39 and 48 versus Toronto. I'm fine taking a lower price, lower owned Rudy Gobert as a pivot off Podol or one of Collins/Collins. Also, 6,600 for Jalen Duren. Duren played 30 minutes in the last game. Now he's playing Hornets, where he's going to match up with Grant Williams, who is 6'6". Duren just is too big with too big of a wingspan to not consider in this spot at low ownership. Very much considering Duren. On to DK, 4K, Bassier makes tons of sense, especially on DK where you can play two centers. Grant Williams, 5K. Rudy Gobert is a little chalkier over here at 6,600, fully willing to go there. Podol, Duren, absolutely in consideration on DK as well. That'll do it for us today, guys. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back tomorrow for the big slate, and we have more NFL prop videos coming out later tonight, and then tomorrow, more NFL DFS. Have a good one, guys. See you later. Peace.